All right, welcome to Wrestling Addicts. I'm your host, Jimmy Anderson, and joining me, starting to my right, guest panelist Mitchell Brock. The Brock has come back to Wrestling Addicts. And next to him is ravishing Rafael Guzman. I know we're going to work on a nickname for you. I know you said you don't really like that one? Or?
Well, I don't want to take credit for it because it's been used already before. So.
I got you. Okay. Well, some alliterated name. It's a wrestling show.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
And speaking of wrestlers, we got 13-time world heavyweight champion Al Rage Walker. And should we call you Marvelous Mike Rodriguez? I'm thinking no. I see that look on your.
Not quite marvelous yet.
So, okay, you'll get there.
I'm trying.
All right. Well, I tell you what, we are a team on this show. We are the Wrestling Addicts, and I say that this week we talk about some of the greatest tag teams in the world of wrestling, some of the greatest tag team feuds. And speaking of favorites, let's start with you, Brock. Who are some of your favorite tag teams, or do you have one single favorite?
I've got several, but my top all-time favorite has got to be Axe, Smash, and Crush. Demolition, baby. When they hit the runway. And
I hate Demolition.
And they come in.
As a kid, I hated them.
Yeah, you probably were scared of them.
Yeah. I hated them.
Man, they hit the runway with the makeup, and you hear the guitar riffs and the black leather, man. They were just hardcore. And them in LOD, the Road Warriors. I was into the guys with the paint and the shoulder pads and the spikes and everything. Those are probably my two favorites for sure.
The music, though, the
guitar riffs, yeah.
Yeah. You know what's unfortunate to me, and for those at home who've bought the DVDs, they cover that theme up now when they release it. That's horrible. They put in generic rock music because I guess they've lost the rights to the Rick Derringer. Or no, it wasn't Rick Derringer. Whoever wrote it.
It was Iron Man.
No, I'm talking about Demolition's theme.
Oh, Demolition.
Oh, they're interesting.
Yeah. It kills WrestleMania 6 when they had the tag belts against the Colossal Connection of Andre the Giant and Haku.
Right.
That was the same night that the Warrior Hogan match occurred. And Demolition's my favorite too.
Cool.
I have others. Cool. How about you, Raphael?
My favorite tag team of all time, because I have several, but my favorite is the New Age Outlaws. The Road Dogg, Jesse James, and Badass Billy Gunn.
Better call somebody!
I mean, first of all, from the time their music hits, when they walk down the ramp, the audience already automatically, they're engaged.
Yep.
And then, of course, he introduced them, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and so forth. And they were just awesome. And during the Attitude Era, I think they were the best tag team, and if not the top team during the Attitude Era.
As soon as you heard that, you knew exactly.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
That's something, I can love that. Oh, you didn't know? And everybody chanted.
Exactly.
All right. Al Rage?
Mine would be the Mega Powers.
Oh, yeah.
Hogan and Macho. I thought that was a real good tag team. I mean, these guys got out to entertain the fans, and I mean, what better at that time, these two guys were at the top of their game, and it was good. Great angles and everything.
Yeah. That solidified the Macho Man's turn as a babyface, full-fledged. And when Hogan came out, remember how the crowd popped on that Saturday night's main event?
Yep.
That was just incredible. How about you, Mike?
I've got several tag teams. I like Legion of Doom as well.
Yeah.
One of my favorites, too.
But growing up as a kid, when I watched wrestling as a kid, the Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah, there we go.
Not the Rockers, the Rock and Roll Express.
Yes, Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were very good.
I don't know where they're at now, but back then, I mean, in the 70s, when I watched them, that was my team.
Yeah. Another one of my favorites that actually feuded with the Rock and Roll Express was the Midnight Express. Remember the
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and
Beautiful Bobby
and
Eaton.
before
Yeah.
that,
That's right.
Dennis Condrey.
Oh, yeah, the original.
Yeah.
They sure was.
And Jim Cornette was thrust into the tag team as well as the manager, a great spokesman for that particular team. And remember the match they had at Starrcade 86, the night of the Skywalkers? You guys remember that match?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
The scaffold 25 feet off,
Right.
Yep.
off the floor in the Omni it was in
Atlanta.
Yeah, Starrcade 86. And they had to take the bumps off of the scaffold into the ring, I think, and of course the Rock and Roll Express. No, it was it was the Road Warriors and the Midnight Express, because Paul Ellering was the manager and Jim Cornette was the other manager. Even Jim Cornette had to take the bump. And
Great manager.
I think both of the Midnights, it seemed like hurt themselves, like twisted their ankles or whatever, falling into the ring, because it was 25 feet off the arena floor, 21 feet, I think, off of the canvas.
And it was real. It wasn't even an angle. They were really hurt.
Yeah, exactly. And Jim Cornette took the worst of it when Paul Ellering chased him up, and he blew out his knee when he fell. Because remember Big Bubba Rogers, who was the bodyguard who became the big boss man, he was supposed to catch him. And he's looking up in the lights. He can't see Jim Cornette, so he just falls right through his arms. Hits his knee. Yeah. And the funny story is that Jim Cornette was saying, "Carry me back. I'm hurt. I'm hurt." And Bubba, under his breath, "I love the way you sell. That's great." And he's like, "Carry my GDS now." And he goes, "Jimmy, you're hurt." He's like, "Yeah." It's like his knee was like that big or something, the size of a pumpkin or whatever.
You know which tag team I hated with a passion as a kid?
What?
Even though it was kind of short-lived, the Beverly Brothers. Oh. I hated them. I mean, they were cheaters. They were heel. They were just that. They brought that hatred. They were so arrogant with with their blonde hair and all that. And I guess they had that kind of rich brother gimmick going on. And I hated them. But I'm saying as far as heels, they were damn good heels.
Oh, they were?
Yes, they were.
I mean, you had the Genius as their manager, too.
Leaping Lanny Poffo.
Leaping Lanny Poffo. Got it. And master of poetry.
I think the funniest tag team, as far as being entertaining, was the Bushwhackers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Bushwhackers, man.
Oh, yeah.
Just right there. As soon as you said Bushwhackers, y'all
Yep.
can't see it, but as soon as he said Bushwhackers,
We all started doing this.
doing like this. So
I'll tell you another one of my favorite tag teams, still going to this day, the Dudley Boys,
of course.
Oh, yeah.
or
Yes.
Team 3D as they call them nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I tell you what, with the Dudley Boys, I don't know if you remember ECW Heatwave '99. They cut that promo and got some of the biggest heat that any wrestling tag team could ever get. I mean, that was the kind of heat you thrive on.
Yes.
I think Bubba Ray Dudley went a bit too far with some of his comments. You know.
Dude, Bubba Ray Dudley used to get up in the face of the fans
That's what I'm talking about.
and just talk trash.
But you don't take a.
What's your input on that, Big Al?
Yeah.
I mean, when you can, pick out a fan and pick on them like that, you're going to make the entire arena just hate your guts.
And you know the ECW crowd is,
Oh, wow.
dude, that crowd is just crazy.
Yes.
So
Yes.
They were having to hold people back
Right.
from him. Now,
Right.
let me ask you this. Do you think it's appropriate for a wrestler to attack a fan by throwing beer in his face? Because that's what Bubba Ray did.
I mean,
That was going a little...
that was ECW.
that was ECW. That was their style. I mean, you had people handing all kind of different kind of items and weapons to the wrestlers. I've seen that
Stop
lady
signs
pull out a what do you call a little stun gun and gave to one of the wrestlers. And I was like, wow.
I'd seen a prosthetic leg,
Yeah.
for real.
Yeah, then there was a time where, this is in Mick Foley's book. I know we're kind of digressing off the subject a little bit, but bring your own weapons match is what they used to usually do. And Mick Foley took up a skillet, what he thought was a plastic skillet, and hit the Sandman over the head with it. was cast iron. But he was in the
wow.
moment, he didn't know, and the Sandman was like,
Out.
Yeah.
uh-oh,
My bad.
yikes, something's wrong.
You couldn't tell by the weight.
I was
It was one of those things, his adrenaline was running, and he did it so fast he didn't even know.
Wow.
And it's like, whoops.
You can usually tell a plastic from an iron skin.
I believe so.
Yeah, especially by weight, yeah.
But if you're not thinking, then...
Now you said adrenaline in the moment.
You don't like that guy.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Iron skillet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, oh gosh. I mean, the tag teams. Let me ask you guys, what makes a great tag team, do you guys
The
think?
chemistry.
Chemistry.
The chemistry, definitely, because when you see the chemistry in the tag team, when they're really good, their moves, they don't even think about it. They know when to tag, when to cut the guy off. They know, when to bring the heat and when it's time to, finish him.
And I think the reason why I love tag team so much, and tag team wrestling in general, because from a creative standpoint, there's so much you could do with it. I mean, you could the psychology or like the near pinfalls, and the guy comes in and saves them. I mean, it's just there's so much you could do with it, as opposed to just singles competition.
Yeah, that chemistry is definitely the main thing. I remember, speaking of Demolition, to me, the highlight of all their matches as far as the action was when they would get one of their opponents cornered and they would both just hammer them, and the crowd would just go nuts. Yeah.
They cut the ring in half.
Yeah,
They used
and
to
they would
always
just
say.
pound that guy in that corner.
or distract the referee while the other guy's beating him up, or the manager, you know.
If all three of them were there.
Yep.
I think the only tag team right now that looks like an old-fashioned tag team is the Usos.
The Usos.
In the WWE.
I like the Usos,
dress
actually.
Like a tag team. And that's another thing. I think the attire should also match, like
Yes.
the Rockers and other tag teams. But now it's like a lot of tag teams are just kind of put together on the spur of the moment. Tag team wrestling seems to be gone right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Minus the Usos and Gold Dust and Stardust.
Right.
I think are the main ones that are
Yeah,
left.
Gold doesn't start. I think has been one of the
The newest ones.
most creative one I've seen in a long
Yes.
time.
Now you guys are gonna have to fill me in. Which one is Stardust? Is he Cody?
Cody Rhodes,
It is
his
Cody
brother,
Rhodes.
yes.
It is Cody Rhodes.
Now, I don't know if they're doing that to kind of pass the torch to him and have him like, because you know Goldust's career is eventually going to wind down. Sure. So I don't know if they're doing that to kind of pass the torch to him and have him like take over.
I like the Stardust character though. It's kind of a mixture of the Riddler from Batman and Goldust kind of combined. And he plays it well too.
He's got that sinister like laugh and smile kind
Exactly.
of going on.
Exactly.
Yeah, one of the teams, of course, the Rockers.
My
we'll have to
favorite
get
tag
into
team as
them
a kid.
later, but they had great chemistry.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
I mean, they were high flyers. They could.
They were young.
Yes, they were young. They could do mat wrestling. They just had the whole package.
Had the California look.
And it's a shame that they never won the tag belts. And I know there's a story that goes with that, which we'll talk about maybe in the next segment. But you know, it was usually the Hart Foundation would have the belts, or Demolition at that time, or you know,
The Legion
teams
of Doom and
of those nature. And I tell you what, we're going to have to take a break here pretty soon, and we have more Wrestling Addicts coming up after the break. Great tag team discussions. We'll be back. All right, welcome back to Wrestling Addicts. I'm Jimmy Anderson, and if you want to follow us on social media, do so on Facebook. The Wrestling Addict Show is how you can find us. On Twitter, at Wrestling Addicts, no G. There's only one Wrestling Addicts show. There's other Wrestling Addicts pages, but we are the cream of the crop as far as I'm concerned. And on YouTube, Bring the Pain Sports. Be sure to look out for them, and sometimes some episodes get posted occasionally. And we were having a great discussion, guys, right here about tag team wrestling. Before the break, we were talking about the Rockers and Hart Foundation. There was a situation where Jim Neidhart, from what I understand, it was unclear as to whether he was going to be re-signing with the WWF at the time. This was late 1990. And they had a Saturday night's main event, or a main event special that was pre-taped. They did a 2 out of 3 fall match for the WWF tag team belts. But what is kind of unknown to a lot of fans was that the Rockers won the belts. They won the match. They took the first fall and they took the third fall. Now, the second fall created problems because of the fact that the middle, was it the middle rope? Or the top rope?
the top rope fell.
broke.
Yeah, it broke.
It broke, and they made that as an excuse for the people in that arena. And they taped a local vignette saying, well, there was malfunction in the match, so we're going to give the belts back to the Harts.
Oh, wow.
I know. It was just because Jim Neidhart re-signed, politics and all of that good stuff.
I hate that they didn't go far with that feud, because they could have gone so far with it. They could have carried on with their storyline, and that's one thing that with tag team wrestling, you can create a storyline around it.
Yeah.
And back then there was a lot of storylines, and fortunately we don't have that nowadays as much.
There were a lot of teams.
Exactly.
I mean, can we even name them all? I mean, we had the Bolsheviks, the Powers of Pain, Demolition. We had the Bushwhackers, of course. We had the Hart Foundation. We had the Killer Bees,
Yeah, I
the
remember the
Rougeau
Killer
Brothers.
Razel.
There were all those tag teams. Power and Glory eventually came along.
Well, see, I believe that, back then tag teams was, if you was tag team champion, it was like being a world heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
Whereas that now, was it last WrestleMania wasn't even in tag team?
Wasn't even a tag team match in the whole
See,
show.
that's crazy. I mean, why would you, like you said, with tag teams, you can make great storylines.
Big time.
I mean, just it can go on for months, even years, but when you just kind of ignore it and put it on the shelf, and it's like, I mean, that's a waste.
I mean, don't you guys agree that creatively with a tag team, I mean, that's 4 people. You can just go way all out with the storyline.
Prime example, how long did the rivalry between the Hart Foundation and Valentine and Beefcake go on.
Did they have a rivalry? I don't remember them
few.
having one.
Yeah.
Back in
We're talking about the Hart Foundation here?
was it?
They were both heel teams.
The Hart Foundation?
I'm sorry, the Hearts and the Bulldogs.
There you go.
The Hearts and the
Oh,
Bulldogs.
yes, you're
My
right.
mistake, my
That
mistake. How long
was
did that rivalry go on?
Just several months.
That's a long time.
It is a long time. Back then, though,
Yeah.
it wasn't as long.
As
But
now,
it was, but they had some good matches, too. I remember on the Saturday night's main event one time, it looked like the Bulldogs had won the belts, but one of the falls ended in a disqualification. Disqualifications can't change title hands.
Right.
So that was the stipulation. And so many of those teams, I think, deserved the belts.
Yes.
You know.
The Rockers definitely, to me, they deserved
Yes, they could have been
Yes.
a new big team.
it. Yes.
And tag team wrestling was important, I think.
Yes.
Let me ask you, Mike, how vital do you think is tag team wrestling in the world of professional wrestling?
I think it's very vital. I mean, yeah, the individual stars, of course, and they're great, but the way a tag team flows, the maneuvers that they can pull off together, just adds a new dimension to wrestling that you won't see in individual competition. And it's good to see, you've got your bad guys versus your good guys, and they team up, and it plays out the whole heel and hero thing. And it's just so much better in a tag team when you see two of your favorite guys versus that evil team that, it just adds to the drama and the story.
Right. Now, you grew up watching, the territorial wrestling.
Yeah.
As well as Vince McMahon's WWF that was national. So let me ask you, did you have a preference between the teams that were, costumed and all looked the same, or did you like the teams that, were not costumed as much and were more rugged? Did you have a preference, or did you?
I like the costumes. I like when the teams matched.
Yep, I agree.
I mean, the Rock and Roll Express, and the Rockers, they always were dressed. They had the spangles and things hanging from the boots. I was just always one for the uniformed look rather than this guy. He does his thing and I do my thing. We're just thrown together.
And that separates it, exactly.
It is.
Going on what you said, if you just throw two guys together, you don't know if they're a tag team.
Right.
But as the Legion of Doom, they both came down with the football shoulder pads with the
Right.
spike and the face paint and all that. Right. So you knew they were a tag team.
Right.
Same thing with Demolition, same thing with the Rockers.
You brought up the Killer Bees. Sometimes in the ring, it was hard to tell them apart.
They're like the Conquistadors.
Yeah. They
Remember
were
that?
still alike.
Yeah.
They had the same mask, same trunks, and the Killer Bees wore the exact same thing every match.
And it adds to the match because when they would cheat and they would switch,
You know who it was?
and the crowd would be upset
Oh, my
like
God.
crazy.
I'd lose
The
my
referee would never
mind.
catch
You
it.
know what was funny? They were teasing that heel turn with the Killer Bees, but it really didn't come to fruition. They kept him babyface. I think they should have turned him heel. I don't know that they did. Did they ever turn him heel?
I don't think so.
I don't remember that.
I'll tell you another one of my favorite tag teams,
Yeah.
Edge and Christian.
Edge and Christian, good team.
And
They grew
and
up together, didn't
they
they?
grew up
Right?
together. They're Canadian, and they had a rivalry between them and the Dudleys and the Hardys, which led to WrestleMania 17, a TLC match. Wasn't it the first pay-per-view TLC match at WrestleMania?
I believe you're right.
Yes.
Yes.
So that, to me, that was just a great match.
And let's not forget the fact that you have 3 feuding tag teams.
Exactly.
When did that happen? Not very often. Did you
Not in a
have
long
3 feuding tag team at the same
At
time?
their prime, too.
At their prime. I think the closest we could have gotten was SummerSlam 90 when the Legion of Doom had just come in and Demolition was still on top. Or at that time it was Smash and Crush because Axe had a bad back and he really couldn't wrestle much. But the Hart Foundation was feuding with Demolition again, but the Legion of Doom kind of interspersed. And so that could have been another kind of but they weren't really feuding with the Hearts, the Legion of Doom. So it really
The
wasn't.
Quebecers, too. They were a heel tag team.
That's right, the Quebecers, absolutely. Another great team.
What about the Rougeau brothers?
The Rougeau brothers.
Rougeau brothers.
Jock and Ramon.
All American boys.
That's right.
They were much better heels than they were baby faces, I think.
Because see, what I liked about the tag team when you did the promos and interviews,
Yes.
you had this guy acting as this character and this guy playing this character, and the poor announcer, I mean, he just caught pure hell every type of interview. So that added on to the show tremendously, and we miss that now.
Yeah, see, that's another thing. The announcers don't really have time to interview the wrestlers like they used to. That added.
Big time.
Yes, it did.
Well, I think the announcers don't really these days know how to interview
True.
as much. The skills have gone down.
True.
It's not even just that, but it's the fact they have to cut them out and cut promos now in the ring, and they have to put on a show instead of, like, the last I remember of interviewers was like when Vince McMahon on Monday Night Raw would be in the ring and welcome a person in there, and he'd help set up the story.
I thought Kevin Kelly was a good interviewer.
He was.
Kelly, yeah, he was.
And Michael Cole did that for a while.
Yes, he
I
did.
think Todd Pettengill did it.
Yes.
Or Michael Hayes of the Freebirds.
Yeah.
Right.
Was Doc Hendricks.
What do you think of the Rock and Sock connection? That was cool, short-lived, but it was
Another
cool.
great team. Another one.
That was disturbing.
It was entertaining, and it got over.
Because Mankind was weird.
He was. Yes.
You know what? I think that's what made them special is that they were complete opposites.
Yeah.
You had The Rock, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, and you had Mick Foley, the hardcore king or whatever they call him,
Yeah.
the hardcore legend. That's what they call him nowadays.
You know, we were talking about teams that had great chemistry, and usually they were a lot alike, like Marty and Sean of the Rockers.
Yes.
But when it came to the Rock and Sock connection, it was that odd couple situation.
Yep.
Where you couldn't have one without the other. And that really paid off in spades, didn't it?
Did you like the Rock and Sock connection, or you?
I did. I like you said, the contrast was brilliant, and I can't even say it
Complete
without
opposites.
laughing. Like, yeah,
What?
they were complete opposites.
Yes. Another one I think we mentioned briefly on another show was Head Cheese. Al
Snow and Steve Blackman.
Steve Blackman.
Oh,
See, that became a comedic thing where Steve Blackman was, the serious stoic type, and Al Snow tried to get him to come out of his shell. And I think we mentioned briefly the nursing home segment where Al Snow got Steve Blackman to do stand-up comedy.
Oh yes.
And he wrote the jokes. My favorite was the one where Steve Blackman had not had peanuts that bad since Charles Schultz was still alive on an
Oh, he said, oh, yeah.
And they were booing him eventually, and then
You stink, Blackman.
we need to post that on the Wrestling Addicts.
It is. It's funny.
Yes, I had to download that one. It's too classic. But for the most part, teams were.
But that was creative, wasn't it? Was it not creative?
Creative. Let me ask you guys a question. Who do you think was the most aggressive tag team
the Road
in the
Warriors.
ring?
The Road Warriors, I'd go with. No.
I would say Doom.
Aggressive tag team.
Oh, Doom. Ron Simmons and Butch Reed. You think, huh? Why do you?
Anybody else? Aggressive.
aggressive.
I mean,
That's
get in the ring and just take care of business.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if that qualified as a tag team, but the Four Horsemen.
Oh,
They were good.
they were a faction. You're right. The very first wrestling faction, but they teamed.
They teamed, yeah.
Tag
That was
teams.
aggressive too.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, Al. I got to go with the Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom. But Doom was great too. But why do you say Doom is in particular?
I mean, when you saw Ron Simmons and Butch Reed, I mean, they were just, they got in the ring.
beasts.
They were beasts, yes. Always in beast mode.
They seemed more of a technical wrestling aspect to me, with their style, whereas the Road Warriors would just beat the living you-know-what out of you, and they didn't care. And you couldn't keep them heel for very long, even though they tried to turn them heel because they were so loved.
They had a big following, big fans love them everywhere,
did.
all over the world.
And they were just so magnificent what they did in the world of tag team wrestling. But as we said, that's kind of a dying art.
Right, and
It's
that
unfortunate.
you got that double aggression with tag team as opposed to just
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Hawk, can you take us to commercial?
Well, I think we can, as we'll be back with more Wrestling Addicts. Ooh, what a rush! Welcome back to Wrestling Addicts. I'll work on my Hawk impression, I promise. We're here talking about tag team wrestling. And, Al, we mentioned during the break, a lot of tag teams were enhanced by the manager.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely. Big time.
Yeah, and like Jim Cornette with the Midnight Express, and
Jimmy Hart was another manager, right?
Hart of the
Jimmy
South.
Hart, yes. You had
Brain.
Bobby
the Brain
Heenan,
Heenan.
of course.
Yeah.
How about Mr. Fuji?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, he was a heat getter right there.
Yep.
That cane that he'd hit people with. Yeah, he managed Demolition a couple of times. He
Yes.
mentioned managed the Powers of Pain.
Powers of Pain, yeah.
And see, that was another team that had good chemistry.
Right.
But I think they deserve the straps too.
And what about the manager for the Samoans?
Oh, help me out.
The Wild Samoa?
Captain Lou Albino.
Captain Lou?
Oh, I'll bet.
Oh, yes,
Back
yes.
in the day.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that's back in the day.
Rubber bands in the face.
Yeah.
how did I forget about
How
Lou?
can you forget about him? Yeah.
I know, exactly. He managed a lot of
Yes,
teams.
yes.
Yeah.
He was involved with the whole Hulk Hogan, Mr. T, Cindy Lauper
Yeah.
type thing, and then he turned babyface and all of that stuff. But
That's right. Cyndi Lauper did become a wrestling manager for a while.
yeah, she did.
Matter of fact,
Wendy Richter.
he played her father in Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yes, he did.
Ryan
Yes, he
played her
did.
father in that
I
video.
believe she was a wrestling fan to begin with.
She is a
That's how
wrestling
they got
fan.
hooked up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how that started. And but as far as managers go, I think Mr. Fuji really kind of fit in with Demolition. It didn't seem like they would fit together, but for some reason it worked. And Johnny Valiant was their first manager. Remember Luscious Johnny Valiant?
Right.
Johnny, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he managed the dream team you were talking about, Beefcake,
Beefcake and Valentine.
and Valentine. But when Beefcake turned face, Dino Bravo came in and took.
Right.
Yeah,
Bravo,
Dino
yeah.
Bravo was another great one. But Johnny V didn't fit that team. I don't.
I kind of hate that they pull away from the managers because there's so
Yeah.
much you can do, having somebody outside, especially when they're a bad guy, villain manager, and they just kind of tone it down to a point where, matter of fact, I don't think nobody's managing right now, really.
Yeah, Paul Heyman, but that's about it.
That's it.
But you're right. It does add more. You got a tag team, plus a manager. That adds even more to it. Creatively,
I got one for y'all.
Yeah.
The Doctor of Styles. Slick. Remember Slick? He used to come in the ring dancing with his little suits on.
The Jive Soul Bro.
Jive Soul.
Bro. Yeah.
Bro. And you remember his team? His big team?
Yeah, Hakeem, Prince Hakeem, and the Big Boss Man.
Yeah,
And the Big Boss
the
Man.
African Dream,
African Dream, yep.
which was a rib on Dusty Rhodes, by the way,
Yeah.
because Dusty Rhodes used to come out there and do all that, and he.
You know, Slick is a preacher now.
Yeah, I
He's a
heard.
preacher in Dallas.
That's correct. Yes, he is. He actually used to plug his sermons on Primetime Wrestling back in '92 when he was one of the co-hosts, and allegedly he brought some of his congregation out to WrestleMania 8 at the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis, and they rode a bus or something, and they sang gospel hymns, and just good fellowship, and just a good guy. But yeah, I'll never forget the cage match on Saturday night's main event very quickly between the Boss Man and Hogan. And after the match, Slick was in the ring, and Hogan had a hold of him, and he was going to punch him and everything. But Slick offers him a high five, and Vince McMahon's commentary was classic. He said, "Yeah, he's going to be slapped, all right. He's going to slap him into the cage instead of slapping him five."
what do you think of the TNA wrestling tag team divisions? Because they've had some good ones. I think Beer Money was good.
I'm going to be honest, I haven't followed as many of the recent TNA teams. I know about the Aces and Eights faction. I think they had an intergender team, didn't they, with Eric Young and ODB?
I believe so.
Yeah, they
yeah.
had knockouts.
They right now, if you compare their tag teams to WWE tag teams, I think they have better talent.
Right.
But TNA struggles with their storylines, I believe.
They struggle creatively. I think
Right.
You're
Yes.
absolutely
Right.
right. I think Dixie Carter is out of touch
Right.
with what needs to happen. I think she let Vince Russo make too many decisions on his own, and they were bad decisions to the point where the fans are chanting "Fire Russo." And she kept Russo on.
Which you can buy a Fire Russo shirt, which Vince Russo himself is selling, by the way.
Wow.
I'll look on eBay for that. I'm not going to buy from Vince Russo, but no, I've already bought enough of his stuff.
But I'm saying they've had some good tag teams. LAX was a good tag team.
With the knockouts, the beautiful
AAA.
people, the best.
Oh yes, Velvet Sky, sexy
and
mama.
Angelina Love, yeah, absolutely. They had great chemistry. When
Yes, they
put them
did.
Together, that was magic.
It was.
And then they broke them up.
That's my point. They don't have that creativity when it comes to the storyline because you can have all the talent in the world for the tag team, but without their storyline to capture the audience, I mean, it's just bodies in the ring.
Yeah, yeah. There's nothing there. When that happens, and I'm sorry I don't keep up much with TNA these days. I probably should, but the Knockouts division looked like it was going to be great before it was kind of squashed a little bit. Now it's, how many knockouts do they have now? Just
They have quite a few.
do they still have quite a few?
Yes.
For a while it dwindled and then it kind of came back.
I like the knockouts better than the Diva division in WWE.
Right.
I think the girls perform much better.
That's the thing. They're not cookie cutter models like Barbie dolls.
Right.
They actually
Right.
can wrestle and they were trained to wrestle.
Right. I think WWE, well, they had the Bella Twins as a tag team.
There you go.
But then they split them up, and they had the Funkadactyls, and then they split them up. So
Not a good.
it's just the tag team division. That's what we're saying. It's just changed so much from before to now.
They're pulling away from it too much. I mean, it just
Yeah.
you don't look forward to watching the tag teams anymore.
Yeah, one thing, Raphael, you mentioned about the Bellas was what the Killer Bees used to do, or even the Villanos or the Conquistadors. One would switch out for
Yep.
what do they call that, Twin Magic or something like
The
that?
Basham Brothers did that too.
The Basham yeah, there
Yes,
you
they
go.
did.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And
That's where the whole psychology and all the different things come into play. So
Who you guys think was the best old school tag teams back in the day?
wow.
the Legion of Doom.
I'm talking about back in the day.
Way
Paul
back?
Bosch
Oh, wait.
era.
Well, what era?
Paul Bosch era. Mid-South.
Gosh, you had the
Still had the Rockers.
Funk Brothers. You had the
Oh,
Terry Fox.
Terry. Well, no, what before that? Terry and Dory. Funk.
Freebirds.
Dory. Oh yeah,
The
Dory
Fabulous
Jr.
Freebirds.
Fabulous.
Fabulous
That was
Freebirds.
Well, okay, Al. Who do you think?
I don't know. They had a lot. They had a lot of guys back then. You know.
It's hard to pick.
The
It's
original
hard to pick.
Guerreros.
The original Guerreros. Yes.
Who was it? Chavo Senior and
Hector.
And Hector.
And
was it Hector? Yeah, and then you had Eddie and Chavo, Latino.
Los Guerreros.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
They were good too.
Yeah, and it's just a shame that Eddie's not with us anymore.
Right.
It could still be a great, great team.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you guys this: do you think family tag teams are more natural because of the family aspect? Do you think they make better tag teams necessarily?
I would say so.
Yeah, make good feuds. You know.
I mean, look at the Usos. The Usos, they came from a wrestling family, so to me, they actually show what a tag team should be.
And they're third generation, right? The Russos.
The Usos?
Third or fourth.
Rikishi's their dad, so
Right.
yeah, I think they are third
Yeah.
generation.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but yeah, I think you're right about that. Now you have, would you call the Wyatt family?
I do like the Wyatt family, though. I do.
Different,
Yes, I do.
definitely different.
Yes, I do.
Why?
I mean, they're great. Their entrance.
Okay.
I mean, the lights go out in the arena. You take out your phone. You start doing
They
this.
can work. They can work.
They can work.
That's true.
And they work good as a
Look how
tag.
over they get.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, the entrance is great. They just creep me out.
That's the point.
I don't dislike them necessarily. I have trouble watching them. They're just creepy. Not creepy in a good way to me, just creepy.
It's a creepy gimmick, but when you watch them in a ring, and you know the way they perform, they kind of perform like old school because they do a lot of cheating.
Yes, they
stuff.
do.
Oh,
They do a lot of cheating.
They have that old school type of wrestling.
Exactly.
You know, they got the whole long beard. You know, they kind of remind me, kind of like Skinner's, like the ring attire.
the
kind
Skinner?
of like Skinner, kind of Hillbilly Jim, kind of sort of crossover.
Trivia fact: the Skinner was played by Steve Kern, one of the Fabulous Ones. Remember Steve Kern
Yeah.
of the Fabulous Ones? He was Skinner in the WWF.
Wow.
He really let himself go, didn't he? I told my mother that because she remembered the Fabulous Ones watching them. I think Paul Bosch and Houston Wrestling. She's like, "That's Skinner," you know, and I was like, "Yeah, that's him." He also played the decoy Doink. At WrestleMania
Oh,
9.
Doink the Clown.
Yeah.
At WrestleMania 9 when they did the mirror switch or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that version of Doink when he was the heel.
Another good tag team,
Yeah.
the Brothers of Destruction,
Kane and the Undertaker.
Kane and the Undertaker.
Well, going back to the Wyatts for a second, isn't Bray Wyatt one of the sons of Mike Rotundo?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Really?
Along with Bo Dallas.
Well, yeah. Now Bo is.
Yes.
Is Bo part of? He's not part of that group.
No.
But they're brothers in real.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're brothers, but they're not like in the same. The
Yes.
Wyatts.
Yeah. It's speaking of Mike Rotundo. I mean, they had the Varsity Club in the NWA. And
Money Inc.
That's what I
Money
was
Inc.
just gonna
That's another
say.
good tag
Money
team.
Inc. You got it. Yeah. With the $1 Million Man and the IRS.
Oh, man.
Erwin R. Shyster.
You know, hey, weren't they cheaters? I mean, they were. I mean, think about it.
Yeah, when I was watching wrestling as a kid, my mother would not say this to our faces, but she'd call our grandma. She'd say, "You're not going to believe the kind of weird nicknames these guys have. Erwin R. Shyster, IRS." Or you got one out there called Paul Bearer. Still like a
The
Paul
$1 Million Man.
Yeah, well, that's more believable. But IRS Erwin Arsh.
Well, it's real because Ted DiBiase, it is and was loaded.
Let me ask
real
you,
life.
don't you guys think that Money Inc. was a little contradicted? Because would the $1 Million Man want to pay taxes? To
I think
IRS?
I think it matched. What do you think, Big Al?
I
Because
thought it
they're
was a
both
great
heels.
match. I thought it was a great
Well,
match.
no, they had great chemistry. It kind of matched, but the $1 Million Man paying the IRS, I don't know.
Maybe
At
that
that
they
time,
were both
I didn't
they
know
were
what
both
taxes
crooked.
were, so
I just thought what?
at the time I didn't care what taxes were.
That's right.
I didn't have to worry about taxes at
Yeah,
the time.
me either. Yeah, absolutely. Another great tag team, great chemistry. And then you had them go up against Hogan and Beefcake at WrestleMania 9.
Yep.
Of course, they were really good friends in real life, Hogan and Beefcake. And that's when Jimmy Hart turned face because, Brutus Beefcake was in that parasailing accident, and they ran the briefcase of money across his face on an early Monday night.
I didn't
Raw.
like, though, as a tag team, Mr. T and Hogan.
Yeah.
I
They were
didn't
good,
like
too.
it.
Nah, that was
He
too
couldn't
cheesy.
wrestle. But yeah, it was a little unbelievable in some ways.
I didn't even like the boxing match between him and Rowdy
That
Piper.
was horrible.
Yeah, the only problem was that was a kind of a shoot. And we've got more discussion coming up, folks. We got to take a break, and then we'll come back and finish up the show. So stay with us right here on Wrestling Addicts. We'll be right back after these messages. Do not go away. All right, everybody, welcome back to Wrestling Addicts. Again, follow our social media aspects, I guess you could call it. They'll come up on your screen. I gave them to you earlier. And who's another tag team you wanted to bring up, Brock?
We would be remiss to talk about tag teams and not bring up Sheik and Volkov.
Oh,
Wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're right.
They in the '80s, they were like
Cold War.
yes. I mean that combination, Russia and Iran.
yeah.
They both come in waving their flags.
Oh, man.
The crowd was just
they
heated.
Yeah, I mean it's like
Volkov would sing the Russian national
sing the
anthem.
national anthem. Yeah,
Everybody just
absolutely.
lose their minds.
You know, to this day, I don't think Nikolai Volkov has ever actually gotten through the national anthem without being interrupted in
Right.
some way. I was always like, as a kid when I watched it, what are the rest of the words? Because he'd always get interrupted somehow. They take
Yeah.
the mic or
The
something.
crowd would be so furious. I mean, before the match even started, they were ready to jump in the ring and jump on these guys. I mean, they really got the crowd going.
Yeah, they
They did.
They had their trash ready to go to be thrown
ready,
into the
yeah.
ring. And WrestleMania 1 is when they took the tag belts away from the, I guess you call it the U.S. Express with Rotunda and Wyndham. That's right. And the crowd just hated that because Freddie Blassie used the cane. He was their man.
Classy Freddie
How do we
Blassie.
talk about managers and forget about Classy Freddy?
I don't know.
Oh, we shouldn't.
Oh man, Classy
Right.
Freddy.
Yeah, they were just fan. And then the Iron Sheik left. Or did he get fired? Was that what happened?
I don't remember exactly what happened with him.
I thought it involved some incident with him and Ken Patera at a McDonald's breaking a window or something. I don't
Ken
remember.
Patera.
Wasn't that the same year Hogan took the belt from Sheik? 87?
No, 84.
84. Was it that long ago?
It was, yeah. January 23rd, 1984. You got it.
That's the
I
real
am a wrestling addict,
For
yes,
real, for real
folks.
wrestling addict.
He got dates down and everything.
Not just the year, but the date.
The date-
Yep.
Well, actually, my birthday is the 22nd, so I kind of remember that. It's the 23rd. Monday night, by the way.
Another good tag team we haven't mentioned, guys. Harlem Heat.
Oh, of course.
Harlem Heat.
All of them.
Harlem Heat.
Yeah.
And I want to know what Big Al has to say about that.
Absolutely
move away.
nothing. Now, Harlem Heat was, I want to say, they were pretty much a good tag team. You know, they started off here in Houston. They performed, I believe, in Global, EWF.
They did.
They were called, what were they called back then? Because, let me see, he did G.I. Bro gimmick, then they became, I can't remember the name.
Something Midnight? I don't remember.
I can't
She
remember
was
the
the- I
name
think that
was
was
when they was in Global.
No, Midnight was the girl. That
Yeah,
was
you're
in-
right. That's
yeah,
what I was gonna
that
say.
was the girl.
And
But
then-
Jacqueline was their manager, right?
In WCW.
In WCW.
In WCW, yeah.
Sherry was
yeah.
to begin with.
Sensational Sherry?
Sensational
That's right.
Sherry.
That's
yeah,
right.
She was, I think, their last manager, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, actually, to you real quick, what was your GWF gimmick? I don't
In GWF, I did Black Assassin.
Black Assassin. What year was that? I don't remember you.
That was 94,
Oh, okay.
93.
ESPN didn't carry it at the time, did they?
No, no.
Okay, because I used to
It
watch
was
it.
broadcast, I think, locally in Dallas and anywhere up north, Oklahoma, stuff like that.
Okay, because I didn't get to see that, unfortunately. But, yeah, we mentioned that on another show. But, yeah, Harlem Heat was another great team.
Absolutely.
And I think this is a good time to get into the fact that some tag teams have breakout stars, not both necessarily break out and become successful, but one over the other.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Shawn Michaels
Michaels.
and Marty Jannetty. Yep.
Marty
Yeah.
Jannetty, that's the
Wow, that was a
Mike, that's the perfect
big
example.
breakup. I mean, it was like Shawn went up and Marty
went
appeared.
watches it on cable.
That's right.
But you know what? Marty Jannetty, to me, he was good, just as good as Shawn Michaels.
Right.
I think the problem was Marty
He's a
Jannetty.
personality.
He had and he had personal issues also. I think he had. I don't know if he had issues with drugs or whatever it was, but I don't know if that's what deprived him from breaking out. As
I was kind of disappointed because I liked him too. You know, I thought he was going to go, you know, and then come back and they were going to have some type of big feud later, but he just vanished, you know.
yeah, they tried, but it didn't, like you said, it didn't work.
and he was good, damn good.
He was
They-
just one of those guys that just was never meant to be a breakout star. I mean,
Right.
he's your oats to haul, and you know,
Yeah.
just one guy makes it, one guy doesn't. You know.
And you know that can be the, you know, it's a good thing and the bad thing about being a tag team. Some people just can't adjust to you not having a tag partner.
Right.
Some guys can leap and leave a tag team and become a big star, and some people they just got to have a tag partner and they won't accept you.
Yeah, sometimes you need the tag team partner and to complement
Yep.
your own skills. Because Marty and Shawn were right on the same page, right from the AWA all the way up to the WWF.
Yep.
And I think they tag teamed once more in the early 2000s, did they not?
They
Marty
got
came
back
from
together.
one night. It was a
2000.
One
2007,
match
I
only.
think.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, and the crowd went crazy.
Oh, they did. And you know what was funny? Shawn still used those mannerisms, jumping over the rope and everything. He still had it. And even Marty still had it a little
You
bit.
know what? Marty Jannetty, when he came back, before WrestleMania 21, Marty Jannetty had a match against Kurt Angle on SmackDown, and that was a very good match. That was prior to Shawn Michaels wrestling Kurt Angle.
I didn't see that match.
Very good match.
Why so?
Because at the time, Kurt Angle was a heel, and he was telling Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty's going to teach you how to tap out.
Ooh. Okay.
And it was a damn good match,
Oh, boy.
which led to my favorite match of all time, Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle.
Another great match.
Yes,
Two
it is.
great technical
Yeah,
wrestlers.
Kurt Angle can really wrestle. He can go.
Oh, man, can he ever. And another team that kind of, I won't say suffer from that same fate, the Hardy Boys, when they split, Jeff became the breakout star, and Matt kind of didn't. Although they were both great.
They were both great,
But
yeah.
the unfortunate part was the drugs.
I heard there's a lot of locker room issues too. You know, one guy was upset because he felt like he should have been getting the push rather than the other, and then of course the drug thing came in, and a lot of bad blood. You know, you can tell sometimes when they would get in the ring and do their interviews, they would kind of shoot and you know say what was going on in their personal life, and then
But they're back now, tag
yeah,
team right now.
yeah, they look good too.
Yeah, they do.
They look
And I met Jeff Hardy. He's a really nice guy,
Yeah,
yes.
he are.
I had the honor of meeting him. Really nice guy.
Oh, great. Well, I'm sure he is, but has he gotten over his personal demons?
I
do you
believe so.
think?
I mean, he looks in good shape. He could still do the high flying stuff and
Yeah.
still going. Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, great chemistry there.
Yep.
And I remember when they first came, they had three managers overall. They had Michael P.S. Hayes to begin with, but that didn't last very long. Then Terry Runnels, which she didn't fit.
I think once Lita came in,
That was when
that's when it
there
took
you
over.
go.
Yeah.
That was because she
Team
came in-
Extreme.
Team Extreme. That's right. She came in managing S.A. Rios. Another great
wrestler,
Another
yep.
great wrestler, underrated. But when they put Lita with the Hardy Boys, that's what really put them over. That sealed the deal, don't you think?
For all three of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think another tag team we haven't mentioned, worthy of mentioning, the Outsiders.
Scott.
Scott Hall and Kevin Nash.
Oh yeah.
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 They brought a lot of heat to the game.
And
There's a lot of drug issues there.
Yes. With Scott Hall, especially,
but
and alcohol.
if you think about it, they helped, along with Hogan, they helped WCW during
yeah,
that,
they
during
did.
that.
The Monday Night War.
The Monday Night War.
Definitely.
They helped save WCW. I really think
Yes, they did.
that NWO, the Outsiders.
Yeah. It's sad because I was a fan of Razor Ramon.
Me too.
And I liked the character.
Flick that toothpick at the camera.
Yeah.
Hey, Chico.
Yeah. I mean, that was a little over the top on the Hispanic thing, but
Check out my.
still funny. It was still funny. I was like, we don't all talk like that.
I mean, look,
Hey,
we're
check
both
out.
Hispanic, you and
Give me
I,
a beer.
and I don't think I have that typical Hispanic accent. Yo, Chico, you know.
Wasn't he supposed to be Cuban?
Yes.
Cuban.
Yeah.
Right. Now here's the thing. Did that remind you any of Scarface, I should say?
No, nothing in that
here's
accent
the
reminded
Because
me of
here's
that.
the thing. You know, say hello to my little friend or whatever, that kind of.
Yeah, it was a bad. I was always like it was a bad.
Maybe reminiscent
Here's-
of
well, see,
Scarface. I don't know.
The reason I bring that up is because of the fact that Vince, when he signed him, he wondered if Scott Hall had any ideas for a gimmick. And he was watching the movie Scarface, and he was like quoting the movie to Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon, as well as Pat Patterson, were sitting there as well. They had never seen the movie.
Wow.
They didn't, and Vince McMahon thought it was the greatest character ever created on the spot, except he
And
was,
it was a good character.
oh, great, yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, the toothpick, and one of my favorite, something happened to this gold, something gonna happen to you.
Now, Brock, who do you think was the breakout star there? Scott Hall or Kevin Nash?
Good question.
I think they're about even.
Well-
Yeah, I would say they about even.
They're about even.
They about
Yeah.
even.
What do you think, man?
Well, it's hard to say without throwing a what if, because if the alcohol hadn't been a factor in his life, you know, how big would he have gotten? I mean, Kevin Nash has done well for himself. He's been in some movies. He's done some, you know, he had some good matches after they broke up. But Scott Hall, had his drugs and alcohol demons not been the better of him, how big would he have been?
Scott Hall was definitely the better athlete of the two.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Better wrestler.
Better,
technically.
yes.
Well, he was more maneuverable
Right.
than, I mean,
Yeah.
more agile, I think, than Kevin
Right.
Nash was.
Well, guys, here's another what if. Let's say that they had broken into the business and become a tag team at the same time. Because remember, they were both established as single wrestlers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would there have been a breakout star if they had both come in together?
It's possible.
And if so, do you think it would have been Scott Hall because of the talent?
I'd have put my money on Hall.
Yeah.
Hall was better on camera, and also he was a better athlete in the ring. I'd have put on Hall.
Have you met? Did you ever meet him?
I know both of them.
Really?
Yeah, I know both of them.
You worked with them in the WWF.
Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I had a chat with Scott at Costa Mania.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I heard he was a cool guy, like one of the coolest guys you could ever meet.
Yeah.
How's he doing now, by the
He's
way?
doing much better.
Is he?
I mean, yes, he's doing much.
Any chance we see him back in the ring?
I don't know. He's kind of working with his son right now, trying to get his son up there, but it's a possibility.
His son, he wrestles just like him. Like you could tell he's taught him everything he knows.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, his son was great. I saw him at that Coastal Mania event as well. Were you there?
No, I wasn't there.
Oh, was
but
it-
I've seen
I
him
was
like
there.
Great event. Were you there?
Yeah.
I was there too. It was a great event. Except you should have won that Battle Royal outrage. I'm sorry. I was rooting for you. You made it Final
Don't
Four.
worry. I got something.
I wanted to see you and that big man.
Oh, yeah.
Final
Yeah,
two.
they gave it to that whatever that fella's name was
ugh.
wearing the hood, mask or whatever.
Unbelievable.
I'm gonna need you to clothesline him real hard over the top
Don't
rope.
worry.
And he had already won a match
Right.
that night, so
Yeah.
the booking was pretty bad.
Yeah.
In that match, but a great event. I lost my voice for a week. I had so much fun. It went on 5 hours because the women's segment ran an hour and the crowd was into it. Folks, we got to wrap it up here on Wrestling Addicts. Until next time, for the other Wrestling Addicts, I'm Jimmy Anderson, reminding you that the best addictions are the safest addictions. So keep clean and stay safe. We will see you next time right here. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for being with us.